What was your understanding of the nature of the financial entanglement between the school and the church at SPI?
I'm not sure what you mean by that entanglement.
That's fair. I guess I understand that there were accounts and credit cards that were used for both school and church purposes, and there was no real segregation between them. Does that differ from your understanding?
I object to vague to time, point in time.
Well, I guess, Attorney Yerk, do you have a period of time that you're referring to?
Before July 1, 2022, or 2021, when they sort of officially become Lumen.
I don't know how many specific accounts I'm aware of in terms of, but it would not have been surprising to me that a church and a school are using some of the same accounts.
Got it. And so I guess what happened at SPI, where Lumen essentially takes over the operation of the school, is that how Lumen came to manage all of the schools it manages?
Not all of them, but many of them.
Okay. And are many of them, the many that you just referred to, were they church schools?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
in your experience, is that, I guess, and I'm going to call it entanglement between church finances and school finances common?
So I don't agree with the idea of entanglement. If the church operates the school, then it would make sense that accounts that the church have also are used for the school. When we break that apart, then we separate things just a little bit differently, sure.
Got it. So that's something that needs to be resolved during the onboarding to Lumen, let's call it.
It is, yeah, yes, if there are joint accounts, then we do have to I believe most times separate them. I'm not the expert in that process necessarily, but that would be my understanding.
Got it. And the official date that those accounts were all becoming, I guess, were being separated and that SPI school was joining Lumen was July 1, 2021, correct?
What really switched July 20, there was a switch on July 2021. Really, that goes from being operated under a church board, which SBI school, so St. Peter Emmanuel School, was operated under a church board under the church St. Peter Emmanuel. It shifted to being managed under our board and under me. That's the transfer. And then all of the other pieces of that come along at the right times.
Got it. And so does the financial transition that we were talking about happen at that same time or before or after?
I think often it's right around that same time, but not necessarily exclusively on that time. But for the most part, we will have what's important for us is we understand everything in our office when it comes to that time, because we are now fiscally responsible for it.
Got it. And so are you fiscally responsible for debts incurred by the church?
No. Well, you'd have to give me a specific. That answer wasn't necessarily accurate, depending on the specifics of it.
So I think in this case,
Do you
we're
have a
talking about a
specific?
credit card tied to St. Peter Emmanuel Church.
Are we responsible for could you rephrase that
Yeah, are
question?
you responsible for credit cards associated with St. Peter's Emmanuel Church?
Depends on what they were used for.
So if they weren't used for school purchases, you wouldn't be responsible?
We wouldn't be responsible for the payment of a particular piece, and that could be a portion of a credit card bill or an entire credit card, depending on what those expenses were used for. We would likely have an agreement with the church where they would either, if we are responsible for the credit card, then it would be paid by the church to Lumen.
So, do you have an understanding of how Lumen manages Lumen credit cards?
Yes.
Does Lumen allow Lumen schools to have non-Lumen credit cards for purchases?
You said Lumen allow Lumen. Can you rephrase that?
Sorry, thank you. It's been a long day. Does Lumen allow its schools to maintain separate credit cards? Or do they all have to use Lumen credit cards?
We transitioned them, I know, at some point to Lumen credit cards, but we do reimburse for other credit cards.
During the transition or even after that?
Well, I just want to make sure that I'm being accurate. So in terms of a Lumen credit card, there is a Lumen credit card. Each, I think, school or principal will have a Lumen credit card. That's how we want those purchases to be made. If a purchase is made outside of that, then we can reimburse, whether that's with the personal funds or checks or whatever, as long as there's receipts.
Okay. Now, were you involved in the decision to end Ellen Kutz's employment on August 4th? That was then sort of retracted. Okay, let me break that down. I'm seeing confusion. Are you aware that Miss Brust brought to Ellen's house a letter saying, "We are firing you," or "You quit. We're considering that you quit," in essence?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware that happened on August 4th?
I wouldn't quibble on the dates. Yes. So
okay.
That makes sense.
That's fair. So were you involved in the decision, I guess, to have that happen?
Yes, I was aware of it and I have ultimate authority on it. If somebody doesn't, our understanding was, I believe somebody didn't show up for work, and if somebody doesn't show up for work, then that would be standard.
Okay. And were you aware that Ellen had asked for FMLA leave at that point in time?
I do remember that she asked for FMLA well, actually, I'm not sure. I don't know any timing of FMLA. I don't remember any timing of FMLA. Seems to be at some point I heard that, but I don't know if I heard it at the time or I heard it later during this proceeding. During the exhibits, that sort of stuff. I'm not sure when.
Now, did you interact one-on-one with Ellen, I guess, ever?
Yes. I believe so. I know in small groups. I know I've sat down in offices with her. I know when we immediately transitioned over, I sat with her and Pastor, maybe others. So definitely have interacted with her.
Okay, how frequently?
I don't know how to quantify that right now. But enough to know her somewhat. I mean, it wasn't daily. It may not have been weekly, but I would imagine in many cases it was monthly, especially in the beginning when we were first transitioning. That was sort of my job from the first meetings on.
Okay, so beginning maybe monthly and then it tapered off?
It was probably more than that, but I don't know that it was sit down. It might be I walked in the office and talked with her, asked her if she had any questions. I know sometimes she asked me questions, so it was more informal, or probably more informal after the beginning, the initial meetings.
Now we know you met with her on August 6th, but
Correct.
prior to August 6th, when had been the last time you had interacted with her in any way?
I don't remember.
Do you think it was, I guess, soon before that, or do you think it was, I guess, uncommon? I'm just trying to get a sense of how you are, I guess, if you are interacting with Ellen on a day-to-day basis in any way.
Certainly not a day-to-day basis, but I do not remember the last time or how regularly it was at the end of that, probably the end of that school year in summer.
Got it. Is it fair to say that it was irregular in any case?
There weren't regularly scheduled meetings unless she had a question or she sent something to me.
Okay, do you
Or
remember her?
potentially I sent something to her potentially, but I don't remember doing that.
Okay, do you remember any meetings with her in,
At
let's
all.
say, the spring or summer of 2021? Other than August 6th, obviously.
Mhm. I don't remember any specifically.
Okay. Did you rely on information from Stacy and Carrie about the situation surrounding Ellen at the end of her employment?
I relied on probably Carrie more than Stacy. There wasn't when it came to the two major issues that we discussed, but some on Stacy too. Yes.
Okay. And I guess I'm distinguishing that you weren't forming an independent opinion of these by looking into these issues yourself. You weren't looking at these credit card statements. You were relying on the people below you. Is that a fair statement?
I'm not sure. When we talked, there were probably artifacts. I don't remember if I saw a statement before that, but I am definitely relying on Carrie, especially, probably.
Okay. And you remember, I'm just making sure I'm accurate here. You said that prior to or leading into the August 6th meeting, you felt you had to separate her employment?
Into the August 6th meeting,
Yes.
correct? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She could it was clear to me she could no longer do the finances. So yes.
Okay. And okay. Let's look at a document that I think was recently marked. Give me 1 second here. It's Lumen 153 in the exhibit you're currently looking at. So like 10 pages before. I think we call it trial 37. It's an email from Renata to Stacy, Pastor, you, and Carrie.
Yes, I'm there.
Perfect. Do you remember getting this email?
I don't remember getting it specifically, but
Okay. Looking down at this email on August 3rd, it looks like it's another email in the chain, whereas the email above is sort of a follow-up. Do you remember the August 3rd email? It appears to be the first time these issues are coming up.
is that supposed to be in this document? I don't remember it. I don't see it here.
Yeah, so if you go, you're on page Lumen 000153.
Correct.
And if you go like, let's say 2/3 of the way down, it says on Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021 at 3:53.
I see that now. Thank you.
Got it. And is it your understanding that that top email is replying to that second email that I just identified?
It looks like it. That's an odd way. I don't know if it was copied different. That's not how normally something was. That's not normally how Google does a reply, but that's what it looks like to me.
Got it. And it looks like, is it fair to say, based on looking over this document, that the top email is following up on the issues identified in that bottom email? Basically, it's an update 8 days later.
Yeah, it looks like that. Yes. Mhm.
But you don't remember seeing either of these?
I'm sure I did. I don't remember the time I looked at it.
Okay. And so looking at this August 3rd email, the bottom third of the page,
Mhm.
it looks like there are a number of accounts that are both, I guess, school accounts where Ellen is associated with them and church accounts that Ellen is associated with. Is that your understanding? You know what? Strike that question. Does your understanding of the status of any of these accounts differ from what's written here?
Just a minute and read through it just a little bit more
That would
carefully.
be great. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would believe this to be accurate at the time.
Okay. And Albert's son, is he associated with Lumen or the school SPI in any way?
No.
He is strictly associated with the church, correct?
Correct. Yeah. In terms of employment.
Got it. So from this discussion of the credit card, it looks like it's the, it goes Menards at the bottom of 153 and then credit card above that. Is there anything that indicates that this credit card is associated with the school SPI?
There's nothing written there. No.
Was there some other information you had that led you to believe that that credit card was associated with the school SPI as opposed to the church?
I don't. Well, only what we had discussed before, which is it's not uncommon for church and school to be together in their use of a credit card. So I don't know it to be the case or not without looking at what the charges were and how that was used before. Renata would take care of that.
And so These emails, do they indicate to you that as we sort of started this conversation, the process of unwinding SPI's finances from the church and then associating them with Lumen's finances was still ongoing?
From what I can remember, we discovered some things throughout this process. So I don't know that these were which parts of this were fully known beforehand or not, but it certainly, once we got to our August meetings, it certainly um, um, raised the urgency of making sure that the finances are fully known and controlled, where, yeah, fully known and controlled.
Okay. Why would Renata be a signer on church accounts?
I don't know in this case, other than in some cases in with other churches, sometimes we help with the church finances as well. And depending on what those paid for, maybe there were school charges on it, I'm not sure. Or school purposes.
I think I'm done.
Okay.
I've got at least one question for the witness, and then we go to redirect. Mr. Larry, you had testified that you had to separate the employment of Ms. Kutz, that it was a cut and dry decision going into the August 6th meeting. My question is, why was she then offered her job back to report on August 16th?
She wasn't offered her job back. She couldn't do that specific piece. I think we always, what would have happened on that is, while there were things that we would have her do, we wanted to have another conversation around where she was. And we knew at that point we had an agreement and then we didn't have an agreement. So we had to loop back on that. I'm not sure exactly what would have happened after that first day that she was there, or even during it. It might depend on how she came in and for what reasons we were discussing things. But we knew at that point we'd have to not have to, but at least one of the options is to have work for her to do while we sort through what was actually going on.
And so this email that I'm looking at from August 12th from Ms. Russ says, you are scheduled to return to work on Monday, August 16th of 2021, and your scheduled start time on August 16th, 2021 is 9 a.m. It gives the location as the Lumen Network office and the address there. She's instructed not to report to St. Peter Emmanuel Lutheran School. And then it says, you will also need to bring a copy of your driver's license with you or make a copy in the office. This is needed for the financial accounts. What does that mean? Why was her driver's license needed for the financial accounts?
I'm not actually sure. I don't remember that.
What financial accounts would she be working with?
It wouldn't have, what I'm positive on is it wouldn't have been to work with future accounts or current accounts. Maybe there were I would be speculating. Maybe there are unresolved accounts that for some reason needed her identification, that needed to be switched to Renata or someone else. But that's a guess. She wouldn't have been working with accounts on that day.
Okay. That was the only inquiry I had. It will go to redirect by Attorney Stoffel.
Yep, just a few. These charges, going back to the charges on the credit card, that you're aware of, would you be any less concerned about those charges, given the notion that by the time Ms. Kutz put the charges on that card, Lumen expected to know that to no longer be a Lumen card, but to transfer over to the church for the church's exclusive use? Does that change or minimize your concern in any way?
I'm going to object. I think it assumes facts and not in evidence and is speculative.
I don't know that this witness can speak to anything regarding the church, so I'm going to sustain the objection. What's the next question?
Okay. Do you still have that Lumen 153 email in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I might have a question about that in light of the questions you were given. The second to bottom, it's broken out by account. Do you see that? The second to the bottom says credit card.
Yes.
Can you just read that, those 2 or 3 sentences to me?
Yeah. So you're talking at the bottom of the page, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ellen and Albert's son have a credit card through Capital One. I'm not able to cancel her card. All the login information is tied to her cell phone. Maybe Albert can call and cancel her card.
Okay. And what's the date of that email?
August 3rd, 2021.
Okay. And in light of in that email, do you understand you received that email?
Yes.
Okay. And in light of that, why was the idea to cancel Ellen's card?
Objection. This witness already testified that he has no recollection of the specific facts related to this email. He doesn't remember receiving it. He can only testify to his knowledge and understanding of the facts as we sit here today.
I'm going to let the witness answer the question if he's able to.
Yeah, ask it again.
Ms. Court Reporter, could you read back the question, please?
Sure. The question was, and in light of that, why was the idea to cancel Ellen's card?
Yeah. I think because there is a commingling and of her personal and professional, we want to make sure that there isn't that. It's one thing to have a church and school have accounts that have similarity. It's a whole nother thing to have personal accounts that are or having public power accounts used for personal.
Okay. Do you have any understanding as to when the Lumen people at Lumen or how Lumen came to learn of the personal charges?
I know I did at the time, and I don't remember all of the specifics, but it was clear that there was some personal use. I think and I know Carrie had a conversation where it became obvious, and it was. I'm thinking through it. I believe it was, or one of the times was when she had a specific conversation with her around the credit card when it was supposed to be terminated. I believe that was the meeting that she had at the house. And one of the responses was there's personal charges on the credit card, which raised flags to me.
Okay. And if Ellen and Carrie both testified that meeting occurred on the 4th, I would just reiterate the question as to why on the 3rd, the idea would be to cancel the card before you knew that information.
Objection asked and answered, and we've already established the extent of the witness's knowledge.
Well, I'll let the witness answer the question if he's familiar with it. Mr. Laring?
There's obviously concern, this was August 3rd. Because it would have been a card that was used for professional purposes, and we wouldn't want her to have that if she's not reporting to work.
Okay.
Any further questions then, Attorney?
I'm considering if there are. No further questions.
All right, and then any follow-up questions then, Attorney Yerk?
Who is SPI's current administrative assistant?
I don't know. I'm not sure that they have one. Sometimes we help them out, but I don't know.
Are you aware of the administrative assistants that work at any of the schools within Lumen?
Maybe I misunderstood the question. Am I aware of the administrative assistants of the churches or of
the school SPI?
Yeah, I know. I thought your original question was of the church. I do know the administrative assistants of the schools, yes.
So who's the SPI school administrative assistant today?
Khadijah Banks.
And when was she hired?
I don't remember. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, do you know how old she is?
No.
She older or less old than Ellen?
I don't like to guess ages, but I would assume younger than Ellen.
Okay. Has she gone on medical leave or indicated she has any medical issues to you?
Not to me. I'm not sure if she did to someone else or if there's other things that have happened.
What is your involvement with requests for FMLA leave, if any?
I'm usually aware of them. I don't process them, but I'm usually aware of the arrangements, usually.
Okay. How many administrative assistants have requested FMLA leave since Ellen? In any SPI or any Lumen school?
I don't believe there have been. I don't believe there have been any, but I could be wrong on that.
And were you here when Ellen testified as to the work she did with other Lumen school administrative assistants? This was in September.
I was there for the testimony. Working with in terms of collaborating with other administrative assistants, not necessarily doing work for them, correct?
Correct.
Yes. I'm aware of that.
Do you remember her characterizing the other administrative assistants at Lumen schools as being significantly younger than her on average?
I believe I remember her saying that, yes.
That strike you as unfair or strike you as essentially true?
I don't know the exact time, what the status was at the exact time. We do have turnover of administrative assistants coming in and out, but we certainly we haven't had all. I'm guessing ages here, but I certainly have had other people operating that wouldn't necessarily be significantly younger than her. It would be my guess.
Okay, so there's some people maybe slightly younger than her, others that would be significantly younger.
Sure, that's potentially there may even. I don't know her age, so I'm not even sure that there wouldn't be some that have been older as well.
Okay. So it's possible, but you're not aware of it.
It's possible that people are younger or slightly younger or older. Correct. Yes.
Got it. No, sorry. Let me clarify. It's definitely true that there are a number of administrative assistants who are substantially younger than Ellen, correct?
Describes, I mean, what is
Like in their
substantially mean? I mean,
20s or 30s.
they're in their 20s or 30s. That's probably true.
Okay.
Probably.
That's all I have then.
All right. Does the respondent have any other witnesses that it plans to call?
No.
Okay. So then, respondent rests. We're back to complainant then. Attorney Yerk, I guess, is Mr. Laring excused from testimony then?
Yeah, I don't think I need anything else from him.
Okay. Thank you for participating, Mr. Laring. We're back to the complainant's case in rebuttal. And Attorney Yerk, is there going to be any rebuttal evidence or testimony or not?
We could take like 5. I don't foresee it. I think we're done. But could we take 10 minutes for me to just look everything over and make sure I didn't miss anything?
Let's stop and come back at, we'll say, 3:50.
Thank you.
Looks like we're still waiting for the court reporter here.
I do not have anything further, so I don't know if we.
Okay. Well, let's. There she is. All right, we're back on the record in the matter of the discrimination complaint of Ellen Kutz versus Lumen Schools, which is Lutheran Urban Mission Initiative Incorporated. We went off the record for a brief break. Attorney Yerk has just indicated that he has no rebuttal evidence or testimony to present. So then the issue, I guess, first of all, is the exhibits. And I have 38 exhibits that have been submitted during the course of the hearing. Any objections to those being received as exhibits for the hearing itself, Attorney Yerk? Go ahead.
Sorry, I have not been able to keep the best track of those exhibits. My recollection is the like articles about credit cards were not admitted. Is that correct?
They were not marked as exhibits, correct?
Okay. So that's not one of the 38. Then
Correct.
I guess at this time I don't have any objections. If I later determine I do, I will have to deal with it.
All right. Attorney Stoffel, any objections to exhibits 1 through 38?
I did make an objection to the TransUnion report Your Honor overruled that objection. If you're giving me an opportunity to reiterate it, I do, but I understand kind of where we've been on that.
All right, I'm going to receive exhibits 1 through 38 for purposes of today's hearing. And then the next issue that we'll take up then is post-hearing briefs. I guess let me just ask the parties first if there's a desire to file post-hearing briefs, Attorney Yerk
Yeah, it's my preference that we do brief.
and Attorney Stoffel.
I agree.
All right, given that, let's take a look at a briefing schedule. Typically what I do is there's the court reporter obviously has been taking down the testimony. And I believe Attorney Stoffel, you were the one that requested that transcript, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so usually what I do is when, in this case, Attorney Stoffel has been notified that the transcript has been prepared, then I usually say 30 days from that point, complainant's brief, and then 30 days from that, the end date there is respondents, and then 14 days from the last day, there is complainant's reply brief, if any. I would also note that the hearing has been recorded on the WebEx, and so that will be available for both parties to view. I just have to coordinate with the IT department to give the parties access to that. It's a more convoluted process than I thought, but because they've revised it. But so the parties would have access to a download of the proceedings during a certain window. I think it's a couple of days, and then it vanishes. And then if you don't get it done, you have to contact me, and I have to contact IT again, and then you have to do this.
Yeah.
In any event, that will also be available for the parties. And so let's do this. Attorney Stoffel, can you just notify me when you have the transcript, and then we'll figure out a briefing schedule from there, but it'll be a 30-30-14.
Judge, if I may, this may not matter based on when because of the availability of the transcript and how long it will take. But our family is expecting a new child. My wife's due date is set to the end of this month. So I've blocked off 3 weeks in December for paternity leave purposes. So I would just hope that whatever briefing schedule we fall on could account for that. And maybe that's something I can raise again at the time of my receipt of the transcript.
Well, and we are obviously running into the holiday season. Also, I mean, obviously, we've got Thanksgiving and Christmas, etc. So, that always comes into play when looking at briefing schedule. So I guess just kind of for purposes of just discussion, I guess, would we be looking at, for instance, maybe a complainant's brief due sometime in January, and then a respondent's brief sometime in February? Just kind of, thinking out loud here. Do you think that type of schedule would work?
I think that works with kind of the situation I'm dealing with, yes.
And Attorney Yerk, would you have any objection to that?
Yeah, I think that's the only way we'd be able to get it done, because there's no way I would be able to get my brief out in a way that I guess Attorney Stoffel could get his brief out before he goes on paternity leave.
Okay.
So I think that's how we got it. We'll have to do it.
Okay, so we'll kind of look to those that sort of framework for briefing, and then we'll set definite dates by email once the transcript's been filed.
One thing, just for purposes of clarity of the exhibits, you kind of moved on before I brought this up, but just for pure purposes so we are all tracking and on the same page, those articles I propose to offer, I believe we momentarily called them Exhibit 31. It wasn't received, but then when we got to the next one, I think we were on 32. So there may be a gap at 31 in the exhibits received. And if I'm mistaken, I apologize, but that's what I was trying to follow along all the way, and that's what my notes reflect. So I just want to make sure there's no confusion when we get there.
Sure. So just to clarify that, so I didn't mark those credit card articles as an exhibit. And so Exhibit 31 is the credit card statement, the posted transactions, and then it's a 3-page document. Lumen 418, 419, and 420.
Or let me see here. It's the credit card statement?
Exhibit 31 for the trial is the credit card statement, yes.
Oh. Okay, then yeah, maybe that was my confusion because my book reflects that, but my notes don't. So maybe that was all for naught, and I'm sorry for taking up our time. But I just wanted to make sure there's no confusion, and maybe that resolves it.
Okay, so with that, then I will close today's hearing. We will be in touch with both council about the scheduling, briefing scheduling, probably in the weeks ahead. And with that, thanks for participating in today's hearing.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Alrighty, goodbye.